Hello, my name is Chloe. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm bringing to you my May TBR. So today I have a reading challenge to talk to you about. I have a book club, I have a readathon, my own Patreon buddy reads. I've got quite a lot of scheduled reading this month. April was my month to catch up on books I've wanted to read for a while, and I am sad to say I didn't quite achieve it. So there's quite a lot of overflow into the month, and I'm also away for over 2 weeks. So I'm going back to the US in May, and one thing I like to do when I go is to take books that I wouldn't mind leaving there and passing on to somebody else, because I like to have the room in my case to bring back brand new books. I make my book of the month orders, I bring back gifts, so I need the suitcase room. So for that reason, it's really hard for me to pick up the books that I wanted to read this month in April and carry them forward because I might not want to leave them there. This is a very long-winded way to say that I normally take books I'm not as excited about. I have factored that into the books I'm going to be reading this month, and I'll just kind of start talking you through things that I'm going to be reading. First of all, I will say, as you may have seen on Thursday, I announced the Dystopian Readathon hosted by Naomi from Naomi's Library. That is not starting until the end of the month, so first of all, definitely go and check out my announcement video from this week. And second of all, a dedicated TBR will be going up closer to the time, so I'm not mentioning specifically dystopian books in this TBR. Right, getting started into the books, the first book I want to show you is the Chloe's Crime Scene corner pick for May, and that is The Murder of Graham Catton by Katie Lowe. It does have another name, I will put it up on the screen now, which is where it's been republished. But this is my book club book that I run. I will link the announcement video down for May, June and July's picks because I don't want to talk about this one too much. Again, I did only mention it a couple of weeks ago. So I'll link that announcement video if you want to hear more about this book. But all I know for now is it is a podcast themed murder mystery. So very excited for this one, and I'll be reading this towards the end of the month. We then have my Patreon buddy read. Every month, the top 2 tiers of my Patreon will vote on a book between themselves that they would like to buddy read for the month. And the book they have gone for May is Priest by Sierra Simone. I am really excited to read this. I've split it down into a 6-day buddy read, but I think I know that it's just going to happen in one go. I don't even know how best to describe this one. Religious smut. Basically, there are many rules a priest can't break. A priest cannot marry. A priest cannot abandon his flock. A priest cannot forsake his God. Tyler Bow has had no problem playing by the rules for the past 3 years after a family tragedy set him on the path to priesthood. That all changes when the delicious, sultry voice of Poppy Danforth sinks its claws into him through the screen of his confessional booth, and he can't get her sins out of his head. This is going to happen very quickly. And on top of that, there was another book that we kind of wanted to buddy read but didn't think it would get the votes, or if it did get the votes, some people didn't want to read it. So basically we're doing 2 buddy reads in May, and the other one is Good Girl Complex by Al Kennedy. This one I've had for a little while now, and actually my mother-in-law was like, you're really gonna like that book, you should read it, because I also bought her a copy. So this one I'm actually gonna say is my travel book, and I want to read it on my trip over to the US. But this is about Mac, who is a people pleaser. She is the typical good girl, and she meets local bad boy Cooper Hartley, who's rough around the edges, raw, and a threat to her ordered existence. It just seems like a fun time romance, and I think it's going to be a good treat for me on the plane, and if they keep the lights on, which they did do last time, I should be able to fly through this. Okay, next up we have the TBR jar, which I read last month's pick, which was The Girls I've Been by Tess Sharp, but I still haven't read February's pick, which is Kingdom of Flesh and Fire, and that's because it's a big book. So I keep putting it off in favour of lighter reads, and it's just not happened yet. So we're going to add another book to the mix, and hopefully it's one I can fit into my TBR quite nicely. Right, I'm going for this one, which is... Damn it! This is Extasia, if you can see that. So I found it on my shelves. This is Extasia by Claire Legrand, and this is Nikki's pick. I did want to read this one. I bought it at Yelp because it sounded exciting and I've been putting it off for the longest time. I know that Chelsea also wants to read this book, so I might propose a buddy read with her towards the end of the month and see if she'd like to pick it up, because I'm gonna need motivation on this one. I can't actually tell you what it's about. I believe it's witchy. See, like, even this description. This is an emotionally searing and lyrically written novel that beckons readers to follow its powerful heroine into a world filled with secrets and blood, where the truth is buried in lies and a devastating power waits, seething for someone brave enough to use it. I need to ask Chelsea if she'll read this with me, but I'm going to try my absolute best. Okay, so the next challenge I'd like to talk to you about, if you remember in March, if you watched that TBR, I was doing the bingo board from my Facebook group. And the Facebook group this month is doing a buzzword reading challenge. There are 6 buzzwords, all of which I have matched to a book, and I will just run through them quickly. The first one is a colour, so that can be the word colour or a literal colour. And I've gone for The Devouring Gray by Kristen Lynn Herman. I've had this one on my Kindle for a while and I didn't get to it, so when I found it in a charity shop I picked up a copy, and so far it hasn't encouraged me to read the book. But it turns out I had a very limited number of books with a colour in the title, so it's time for The Devouring Gray. It's happening. This, I actually cannot tell you what it's about. It gives me Riverdale vibes. I'll just read, on the edge of town a beast haunts the woods, trapped in the grey, its bonds loosening. We will see. Next up is the word lie, so that could be lie, liars, lies, and I've gone for Tell Me Lies by Carla Lovering. This was actually a gift from my friend Sydney, and it is about Lucy, who's eager for a fresh start when she arrives at college and immediately embraces all that college life has to offer. Confident and cocksure, Stephen sees something in Lucy that no one else has seen, and she's quickly seduced by the sense of possibility that his attention brings her. Apparently this book chronicles the yearning ambitions, desires and dilemmas of young adulthood and the difficulty of letting go even when you know you should. So this sounds like a really kind of nice, not nice in the story, but like a nice feel-good development as a young adult read. I don't really know how to explain that to you, but I really feel like this would be a good one to sit around Cole's house and read. I am also planning to go to the library in Cole's town, and his town is very, very small, so I don't want to particularly bump into people, but I need a good reading spot. His bedroom is not offering me a good reading spot, and if it's not warm, I'm gonna need to go to the library, so I might be doing that. I don't even know why I'm mentioning it because it impacts none of my viewers, but maybe that'll be vlog content that happens. The next buzzword was family, so that is either the word family or any family members. I've gone for The Twilight Wife by AJ Banner. This is an adult thriller book, and I've decided to take this one when we go on our little trip because we're going to a water park for 4 days, and this book is so water damaged already that it can't get much worse. So this is one I can basically throw into the pool and carry on reading and not worry about it. This is about 34-year-old marine biologist Kira, who remembers nothing of the diving accident that left her with complex memory loss. She begins to have visions of a rocky marriage, broken promises and cryptic relationships with the island residents, whom she believes to be her friend. As Kira races to uncover her past, the truth becomes a terrifying nightmare. It sounds very, it's quite short, so it sounds very fast paced and like gritty. It's less than 300 pages and I feel like it's going to be a good time. Next up, the word is body, so that is obviously the word body, any part of the body. I've gone for The Lovely Bones by Alice Sebold. I bought myself this copy the longest time ago because I'd read it from the library as a kid and didn't understand it. And clearly, anyone who's read this book knows that a child probably shouldn't understand this. So when I saw a little hardback in the charity shop, I decided to pick it up. Lately, I've been considering unhauling this one, so I thought now might be a good time to read it when I could go away and sit and relax with this book rather than force myself to read it quickly. I know that sounds stupid, but I know what I mean. And yeah, I just know that this is basically like a modern classic. It's about Susie, who is speaking to us from heaven. From heaven, Susie watches. She sees her happy family implode after her death as each member tries to come to terms with the terrible loss. Over the years, her friends and siblings grow up, fall in love, do all the things she never had the chance to do herself. but life is not quite finished with Susie yet. It is above all a novel which finds light in the darkest of places and shows us even when that light seems to be utterly extinguished, it is still there waiting to be rekindled. It sounds really moving, so maybe this isn't a good choice, but it's got a body word. The next word is size, so big, small, little, large, I don't know. I've gone for Little Darlings by Jacqueline Wilson. I've been very slowly working my way through Jacqueline Wilson's books. I genuinely started the vlog when I lived with my parents, which is over 2 years ago now, but I seem to have continued with the vlog, so I'm going to read another one. This is the last published Jacqueline Wilson book I read, so this came out at a time where I thought I was too old. It came out in 2010. I would have just started high school a couple months prior, and yeah. I thought I was too old to read Jacqueline Wilson at that point, so I remember sneaking this one from my friend and not like admitting it. So I want to read it back, see what sort of message is in here, because I don't really remember it. I know we've got Destiny and Sunset. One of them's in like a super rock star family and the other isn't, but she might be. I don't know. Excited to give this one a read. And the final buzzword was the most difficult one, as Laura made the joke, and it is the. So I could just use a book I'm already reading out of those 5, The Lovely Bones, The Twilight Wife, The Devouring Gray. Instead, I'm going to go back to the earlier books I need to read and class The Murder of Graham Catton as my the read. Next up, something I didn't see myself getting involved in this month, and now I'm incredibly excited. So the lovely Amy, as in Amy McCaw, asked me to be part of her book club and co-host the live show for this month's book. We're going to be reading Good Girls Die First by Catherine Foxfield, and this is a book I've had on my Kindle for the longest time. I had an e-arc and I just never read it. NetGalley, I really struggle to pick up NetGalley books sometimes, so I've wanted to read it a while. I'll be taking my Kindle away with me on our little vacation, so I thought it's the perfect time to read NetGalley books. And when Amy reached out and asked me if I'd like to take part, it was 100% a yes. I believe the live show to talk about the book has already been created, so I will link that down in the description if so, but definitely go check Amy out if you're not following her channel already. And finally, so at this point I got to the decision that I wasn't going to take part in any readathons, because I've got my dystopian one at the end of the month, I've got a lot of different challenges to tick off, and I'm very busy. But then an hour ago I saw Amanda's announcement. So Amanda from A Reader in Time is hosting a readathon called the Tournament of Talons, and this is a dragon themed readathon, which is so not my thing, but you can log any books. There are a set of prompts which I will pop up on the screen for you now, and I will link Amanda's channel in the description so that you can go and check this video out. You can go and check Amanda out, she's so lovely. But yeah, I don't read many fantasy books. I definitely don't read many dragon books. But you select a team, and I've gone for the sea serpents because they terrify me the most. I have the most nightmares about things in the water that are kind of snake, kind of dragon-like, so why not ally with them? And how I'm taking part in this challenge is any book you read, the page numbers go towards the team's total. So I can read all of these books and count them towards that challenge. There are also the prompts which give bonus points, so I'm just going to try and match as many of those as possible with the books I end up picking up. But I thought it's quite a low-key one to take part in. I don't need to set additional books for additional prompts, so I'm also taking part in that. There we have it. That is my entire TBR for the month. There are definitely more books I'm going to be taking to the US with me, but I will show you those in vlogs as I do. And yeah, I guess that's it. So if you have any questions, please do let me know down below. If you have any opinions on any of these books, I would love to hear them. So please do chat to me down in the comments. But with that being said, that's all I have time for today. So thank you very, very much for watching this video. I really do hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.